What's up, Amazon sellers? Are you thinking about selling on Amazon but not sure which model to do? It could be arbitrage, it could be dropshipping, it could be wholesale, it could even be private label. Then stay tuned. I'm going to go through all of these different models and talk about the different ways to sell on Amazon within this video. Stay tuned. Right, if you don't know who I am, my name is Thomas Parkinson. I've been selling on Amazon now for 4 years doing the online arbitrage business model. Now, quite simply, in the UK, we've just broken 7 figures in 1 year, check that out. And in the USA, we've now broken 6 figures, recently starting out, check that out as well. Now, hopefully in the future, I'm going to expand to another marketplace and continue this business model. And if you're interested in learning how I've done it and what I'm doing and keeping updated on my journey, then make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. It's going to notify you when I release any videos. So first things first, Amazon supply chain. Well, look, before I tell you all the different ways to sell on Amazon, what I need to first do is talk about what's known as something called the Amazon supply chain, or should we say supply chains in general. So first things first, by knowing this is going to help you identify or understand the different ways to sell on Amazon. And you know what? They're all the same. They all sell on Amazon, and obviously help you identify which one is going to suit your strategy. So let's kind of go through it first of all. Now, supply chain, or the Amazon supply chain, what is it? Now, the Amazon supply chain is responsible for getting products from, should we say, manufacturer, ultimately at the beginning, point A through to point B, which is through Amazon and then to the customer. And there's lots of different ways to do that. And we'll talk about those different models now in that supply chain. Now, between these 2 points, there are a lot of moving parts, such as, should we say, making the inventory, receiving the inventory, sorting it, consolidating it, shipping it, warehousing it, packing it, labeling it, truck, it might go through land, air, and also like branding it as well, changing the brands, putting brands together, lots of different things you can do, and then ultimately getting it into Amazon. And when the customer wants it, they click buy, and then magically 1 or 2 days later, it appears at the doorstep. Now, always remember that Amazon is quite simply, it's just a retail. It's a retailer. It might be a giant retailer, but it is a retailer. And Amazon also has their own logistics service, which makes them super efficient and successful in the e-commerce industry, especially with the FBA program. And this is where many sellers on Amazon use their own logistics service, i.e. Amazon's logistics service, to help them get the products from Amazon's warehouses to the customer in the last mile, such as like FBA. Now, for me, in my business, I'm currently managing 3 businesses while exploring different countries and traveling the world. And across, I think it's the whole globe, Amazon has like 110 fulfillment centers, not in the whole globe, sorry, across the US. And across the whole globe, it's about 185, which is incredible. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means that you're able to ensure that no matter where your customers are located, they're able to receive Amazon orders pretty fast and on time. And even if that's globally, they can ship pretty much globally. Okay, so we've talked now about, should we say, different fulfillment options like shipping it to Amazon's warehouses and how they can do it globally as well. But that isn't the only way. You can actually ship directly from me through our own parcel service to the customer. Now, when we talk about supply chain, what we're really talking about is how the product gets from the manufacturer to the customer and the process it goes through there. Now, when we're talking about all the different models, all we're going to do is look at that supply chain and just do it different ways. Get it from the manufacturer to the customer in very different ways. And we'll talk about those, the pros and cons of each, and really try and help you understand them. And obviously it might help you understand what model's right for you, but also as well, maybe where that model falls down and there's challenges you're going to face in the ever-changing environment. So quite simply, supply chain is getting products from the manufacturer to the customer. And when we talk about Amazon models, it's about the different ways to make that happen. And there are so many different ways to do it. And we'll talk about that coming up soon. Okay guys, so I'm talking about different models on Amazon. I talked about it earlier. You've got like arbitrage, that's what I do. You've got like drop shipping, you've got private label, you've got like wholesale, you've got retail arbitrage if you want to do that. I do online. There's so many different things you can do. Now, a quick question for you is before we kind of jump on and go into it, I'm interested in knowing what you're interested in. What kind of like takes your fancy so far? Drop it in the comments down below. Is it arbitrage? Is it drop shipping? Is it wholesale, private label, branded? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to see what we're interested in. And hey, if you've got any questions, I'll answer them as well. Okay, so this leads me nicely on to chapter number 2, what are the different ways to sell on Amazon? Okay, so before I jump into the different methods, I want to kind of segregate them into 2 sections. One is called reselling or should we say trading, and they're reselling other people's products. Should we say buying Lego, which is someone else's brand, their product, and reselling it. And then the other one is creating your own brand, and that's cool. A lot of people call it like private label or brand. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So first of all, let's jump into the, should we say, reselling, the trade of other people's brands, and go through the different models in that. And it's not to say that you can't blend these, but generally it just makes it easier to understand. So if you're interested in selling other people's products, other people's brands, such as Lego, then these are going to be the models that are going to be of interest to you. So let's jump into them now. The first one is arbitrage. Now this is something that I do. Now arbitrage can be broken into two sections, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So quite simply, arbitrage is a process of buying low and reselling it high for a profit. A lot of Amazon sellers in my channel and my community are doing this. It's probably one of the easiest models to get started with. You know, it requires a very low funding, and you can quite simply just go to like a retail store like Walmart, or should you say Tesco or Argos, and you can either go, there are two options to doing this. Now, quite simply, the first option, which I'll say is the one that I do, is called online arbitrage. This is whereby we will go in, or should we say, we'll go online to walmart.com or like argos.co.uk, and we'll find a product that we can buy low and that we can resell high on Amazon for a profit. Now what we'll do is we'll buy that product online from their website. We'll either ship it to my house, or we'll ship it to something called a prep center. And what we'll do is once those products arrive, we'll then check them and make sure they are the right products. We'll then obviously put them into a box. And if we're choosing to do it through what's known as the FBA model, we'll then either choose to ship it into Amazon through creating a shipment. Once it's in Amazon, then Amazon will then sell it, and they'll ship it to the customer once it gets sold. Now, the other option is once it's in my house or my prep center, we could potentially do what's known as merchant fulfilled. So we list it on Amazon, but once it gets sold, Amazon don't ship it. We then have to go to the post office ourselves and ship it to the customer directly. That's called merchant fulfilled. The reason here, the thing it's called arbitrage and online arbitrage is why? Because we are sourcing through the supply chain online. That's the big point. Now, the second point is called retail arbitrage. This is exactly the same, but instead of buying it online, we go in-store to retail stores, and this is where we physically go into store to buy products, which we can then obviously buy low to sell high for a profit. And again, we'll probably take it home rather than ship it to a prep center because we've physically gone in store. We've gone to retail stores, buy the product, bring it home. We'll then either choose to list it ourselves and ship it to the customer once it sells by merchant fulfilled directly, or we can put it into a box, ship it to Amazon's warehouses as FBA, hold it in Amazon's warehouses, and when it gets sold online, Amazon will then pick, pack, and ship it to the customer and get it there through Amazon Fulfilled, or FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. Now, those two methods are the online arbitrage and retail arbitrage. The only difference is where we're sourcing or how we source it. Still the same stores, Walmart, for example, but one might be online and the other one might be in store. But once they're to me or in my prep center, we can either fulfill them to the customer, merchant fulfilled, or we can ship them to Amazon and then Amazon ship them to the customer once they sell. So different shipping options to the customer once we purchase, but different sourcing options from the supply chain from how we source them. The next one to think about here, number 2, is called wholesale. Now, wholesale is pretty much exactly the same, but the difference here is how we source it. So in the first example, we buy it from retailers, we go to retail stores, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage. You know, again, whether it be online or in store, they're both arbitrage, and generally that means retail. The next one here, second, is wholesale. So instead of buying it from like customer-facing websites, we buy them from wholesalers, distributors, or even manufacturers direct. That's called the wholesale business model. And this is basically where you are opening up accounts with them. They're not open to the general public. You need to open accounts. And what will happen is you find the products again to buy low to resell high on Amazon for a profit, but you're now buying from wholesalers, distributors, or manufacturers. That's the supply chain side, shipping it to your house or to your prep center. And then from there, you can either do merchant fulfill to the customer, or you can ship it to Amazon's warehouses as FBA, and then they'll ship it to the customer once it's sold. So exactly the same shipping process, but this time now, you're going to be buying it from different suppliers called wholesalers, distributors, or manufacturers. Now, one of the advantages to this is the fact that you can buy in bulk. Wholesalers, they're trade accounts, you can buy much more, you can negotiate discounts, but they are challenging to open up. That's one of the disadvantages. And also as well, what we generally tend to find is that maybe the margins might not be as good initially. It takes a lot more work to find the deals. Opening up the wholesalers, opening up accounts can be more challenging, but there are some very, very big players who do wholesale. We're talking 10, even $50 million a year. That does work, but you need to have bigger order sizes, and generally starting amounts a lot more. Retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, $500, £1,000, fine. Wholesale, you're probably looking maybe a few thousand to start with to get going. And that leads me nicely onto the third model, which is called dropshipping. Now, dropshipping is another model that people use, and this is quite simply working with a supplier, and this can either be a retail store or a wholesaler, distributor, or manufacturer. And there is a caveat in there, and I'll tell you about in a minute. And this is, you find a product from your supplier, you find a price to buy low to sell high on Amazon. And what you do is you find the product of the supplier and you list it on Amazon. And when the product sells, you then ship it from the supplier directly to the customer. It doesn't come to you, it doesn't go to Amazon's warehouses, it goes directly from the supplier to the customer. Now that is called drop shipping because you are basically drop shipping the product from the supplier, retailer, wholesaler, distributor, manufacturer to the customer. Now, I mentioned earlier, there was a caveat there. This is something very, very important. Under Amazon's terms of service, it is against Amazon's terms of service that when that product gets shipped from the supplier to the customer, when it gets to the customer, if it has any other supplier information other than you, that is against terms of service and can cause your account to be shut down. What does that mean? If you were to buy from Walmart and ship it directly to the customer, you've got to make sure there is no other receipts in there. Now, there are a lot of wholesalers, distributors, and manufacturers who will drop ship for you, and that is perfectly fine. But generally speaking, do it from retail suppliers doesn't really work because of the fact that you have other people's receipts in the parcel that shouldn't be in there. Even if it doesn't say prices, just the fact that it says Walmart on it or another brand, that's a problem. Now, the advantage of drop shipping is the fact that you don't have the whole supply chain shipping to you, the time lags or shipping to Amazon and then to the customer, but quite simply, it is a faster process. But the challenge is that it is getting the right suppliers, getting it working, and because you're not involved in the supply chain, creates potential problems. Maybe you've matched the wrong product, there can be problems there. But if you can get it right, you can scale very, very fast, and I do know people doing millions a year doing this model. Now, this leads me nicely onto the fourth model that you might want to think about, and this is something called private label branding. Now, quite simply, you've got the manufacturer itself, you've got you in the middle, and then you've got Amazon, and then you've got the customer. Now, quite simply, with all the other products, what we've done is we've been buying someone else's product, call it Lego, for example, buying that, shipping it to ourselves, to Amazon, or directly to the customer, or directly from the manufacturer to the customer. That works. Now, with private label branding is quite simply the fact that what we're doing, we are taking, should we say, a product, let's call it, I don't know, it might be like a phone case, and we're going to put Tom's brand on there. So now I'm creating my own product with my own brand. Now, this is slightly different in the fact that it's still a manufactured product created by a manufacturer, or it could be, products put together, but again, it's with our label on it, Tom's brand. Then we can use any of the other methods we just talked about to fulfill that option. So we'll just kind of go through them. So with private label, you create your own, you have your own product manufactured, and it's now got your own brand. Now, how you get that product to the customer is up to you. You can do private label drop shipping, i.e. it's with the manufacturer and then you list it on Amazon. When it sells, you ship it directly to the customer. Or you can ship it directly from the manufacturer, if you want, to Amazon's warehouses and then obviously off to the customer once it's sold. Or you can ship it to you, and then once you've got it in your house or your prep center, you can then ship it to Amazon if you want, and then to the customer, or you can ship it to you and then to the customer through merchant fulfilled if you want to do that. It does get a bit complex, but at the end of the day, what you're doing is you've created your own product, and how you fulfill that through the supply chain, which is the logistics really, is up to you and what you do. So quite simply, with private label, this is where a lot of sellers build their own brands, build their own products, and how they ship it to the customers is completely up to them. Okay, so I've just shared about the different ways to sell on Amazon, and I do appreciate it can be quite confusing, but hopefully you've understood that it's about reselling someone else's products or creating your own product, and how you get that product from the manufacturer to the customer It's just different ways, really. Nothing too challenging. Now, I did mention it there, online arbitrage is something that I do. Why? Because super easy barrier to entry, probably the lowest cost out of all of them. And you can just learn the Amazon model and you can try it, and then you can maybe move on to a different model if you find out this isn't for you. Now, if you are interested in learning about Amazon arbitrage, do check out the FastTrackFBA Express course. I'll drop a link down below. It's a free 7-day course with a couple of videos every single day, or you can watch it all in one day if you want. It just gets you from zero to hero, understanding everything you need to know about getting started on Amazon doing arbitrage. Trust me, it's game changing. I think you'll love it. And hey, try this model, learn a bit about Amazon, how it works, and then hey, maybe go look at another model, not a problem. But check it out, the FastTrackFBA Express course, 7-day course, completely free. Have a look at the link down below. Okay, so this leads me nicely on to chapter 3, some top tips for you. First things first, number 1, you're gonna need an Amazon selling account. And if you have an Amazon selling account, you've gotta go for the professional. If you don't have the professional, you won't win something called the buy box, and it's just, you're not gonna make any sales, generally speaking. So get a professional Amazon selling account, regardless of the model, you've gotta have that. That is top tip number 1. Don't save out on the cheaper option. Go for the professional, you have to do it. Now, the next one, which I'll say for you, number 2, is beware of the fees. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when you sell anything on Amazon, whether it be through private label, arbitrage, dropshipping, anything, you are selling on Amazon and there are fees involved. And if I just kind of highlight what they are, obviously you want to use like a calculator to help you do it. Lots of calculators out there are going to help you understand, but you can have something called referral fee. That's for the privilege of selling on Amazon. Certain types of, and generally it's about 15%. Certain types of products also have what's known as a closing fee, like media items, they'll have a closing fee. That can be like 50 cents, 50p. If you're using fulfillment by Amazon, i.e. their warehouses, you're also going to get what's known as an FBA fee. And then with FBA fees, you might have storage fees as well, or you will have because you're storing in Amazon's warehouses. And FBA fees are based on the size of the product, and that's to get it to the customer. And then also as well, you might have long-term storage fees, UPS shipping fees. There are a lot of fees into, should we say, the whole of this game. And understanding that fee structure is super, super important, because otherwise what you think might be profitable is not actually. And also, if you are in the EU, also look at VAT and how that affects fees. Why? Because while we talk about all these fees, you got to add VAT as well. That adds up and adds a cost as well. So just be very, very mindful. And if you're in the EU as well, in addition to VAT, you have what's known as digital taxes, and again, more taxes. So do be mindful of that. Now, the second top tip I'll talk to you about is if you're using Amazon FBA, it's generally not a problem. Once it gets into the shipment, once it gets into Amazon's warehouses and checked in, they're going to deal with it to the customer. But if you're using merchant fulfill, which is you're shipping it yourself from your prep or your warehouse, or drop shipping from them, you've got to be very mindful of how long it takes to ship to the customer. Why? Amazon cares about the customer experience. If you get the customer experience wrong, i.e. you say it's going to take 3 days and it takes 5, or maybe even 4, it takes 1 day extra, actually these start causing problems. Why? Because Amazon wants the customer to get the product when you say they're going to get it. And if they don't, you're going to start getting red marks. It's called failures in your shipments. The tracking is not going to arrive on time. Too many of these, it will lead to causing problems with your account and then eventually account suspension and losing your account. So just be mindful. Amazon really wants the customer to have a great experience, and anything that detracts from that, such as fulfillment, shipping, drop shipping, that is going to be a problem. So make sure you stay on top of your shipment. And if you are worried, do use the FBA program. It's going to solve a lot of those problems for you. Now, the final top tip I will kind of share with you is your Amazon account health is probably one of the most important things that you can do. This is going to really be whether you make or break on Amazon. Now, in a lot of other cases with a lot of other platforms, you might just be able to lose an account, get a new one. With Amazon, doesn't work. If you lose your selling account, never again will you be able to create one. They're pretty strict on it, and they do ID checks when you first create them. So look after that account, make sure your account health is always green, get professional help if you need it, if you're struggling, but quite simply, do not lose the account. It's just not worth it. Amazon is such a great opportunity. Make sure you protect the account, which is helping you provide that amazing opportunity. Okay, what I will say is selling on Amazon is an amazing opportunity. My God, I get to travel the world, and we've still done over 7 figures in the UK and obviously growing in the US as well. Now, regardless of the business model you are choosing, one of the things you might want to be considering is a prep center. It gives you a bit more freedom and means you don't have to deal with shipments to your house. Now, whether you are doing retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, or even private label, you can utilize and make use of a prep center. Now, choosing the right prep center is going to be game changing for you. Get the wrong one, it ruins the whole experience, it ruins your profits. Get the right one, they are the best asset you can ever have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link to a video around here about how to choose the best prep center for you. Check that out, it's really going to help you. But what I will say is hopefully you've liked this video. If you have, give me a big thumbs up. And hey, if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button down below. But for myself, Thomas Parkinson and FastTrackFBA, thank you very much.